when the war drained nations of their resources, and every available supply was funneled into tanks, planes, weapons, and ammunition. Militaries were forced into a level of creativity few people today can imagine. Out of that desperation came one of the most overlooked materials of the entire conflict of fabric, not forged in steel mills or factories, but born from scrap piles. Something as simple as shredded paper, oil, and glue, transformed into a tough, water-resistant cloth that quietly replaced canvas in tents, uniforms, bags, and even some field equipment. It was strong enough to endure heavy rain, resistant to tearing, and in certain reinforced forms, durable enough to deflect fragments of shrapnel during bombing raids. Though almost forgotten now, this paper fiber fabric stands as one of the clearest proofs of wartime ingenuity and invention created under pressure, refined through necessity, and put to the test on the front lines. The idea emerged from severe shortages. By the early 1940s, countries across Europe faced a collapse in the production of cotton canvas and linen. Strategic fibers were redirected to parachutes, medical bandages, and aircraft components, leaving little for tents, map cases, or weatherproof gear. So engineers and military chemists turned to the one material everyone had in abundance: waste paper. What began as a cheap packaging substitute quickly evolved into a remarkably strong composite cloth. They discovered that shredded cellulose fibers, when mixed with animal-based glue and natural oils like linseed or tung oil, fused into a flexible, resilient sheet that behaved more like leather than paper. Once dried, this new material became surprisingly waterproof. It resisted long rain exposure better than untreated cotton. It didn't mold as quickly, and when supported with thin fabric, mesh, or burlap, it gained enough structural integrity to serve as a lightweight shield against small metal fragments during air raids. German and Soviet forces experimented with it first, using it for tarps, ammo covers, and ground sheets. Soon the British and other Allied research departments followed, refining their own versions that could be mass-produced without draining critical textile reserves. The chemistry behind it was simple but brilliant. Cellulose fibers formed the backbone. Glue bonded them. Oil sealed and strengthened the entire structure. As the oil dried, it polymerized inside the glue, creating a natural varnish that shed water and allowed the sheet to bend without cracking. This was manufacturing reduced to its essence: scrap paper, animal glue, and oil-free ingredients that turned wartime garbage into functional military gear. Production methods varied depending on who made it and where. In factories, the material was pressed under heavy rollers and dried in controlled heat. In field workshops, soldiers used whatever they could find: newspapers, maps, packaging, anything. Paper-based were soaked until soft. Glue made from hides or bones was added. Tenkame oil mixed until the pulp thickened into a smooth, sticky mash. Spread thin across cloth or mesh and left to dry for days. The mixture hardened into a flexible, waterproof sheet. Some variations added wax or natural resin to resist snow, ice, and coastal humidity. Even today, hobbyists and survivalists can replicate it with shredded paper, water, wood, glue, and boiled linseed oil. When pressed flat and left to dry, the result is a leathery, durable composite ideal for tool sheaths, waterproof bags, covers, or bushcraft equipment. The fact that the formula still works underscores just how effective the original wartime design was. Historical records describe how Soviet engineers used this composite cloth to insulate bunker walls and winter dugouts. Its water resistance helped prevent frost buildup and leaks during the freeze-thaw cycles of spring. The British Home Guard turned it into rain capes and protective hoods during bombing raids. Japanese naval crews used similar paper fiber composites to wrap electrical wiring and reinforce parts of shipboard uniforms. Field hospitals turned it into stretcher covers and medical supply rolls because it didn't absorb moisture as quickly as canvas and could be wiped clean. Despite being made from paper, the material often lasted for months under harsh conditions. Repairs were simple. An area could be softened with heat, patched with fresh pulp, and pressed flat again. It was a survivalist's dream long before that word became popular. Some of its most impressive moments came during the bombing of European cities. When shrapnel rained down, storage tents and sandbag covers made from this material often held together better than standard canvas. the layered mix of pulp and oil dispersed impacts instead of ripping open. British War Office reports even mentioned that tarps made from this composite survived near misses from incendiary debris, something untreated. Cotton rarely managed, and unlike canvas, which mildewed quickly when damp, the oil-infused paper sheets resisted mold and bacteria, making them invaluable in coastal bases where humidity destroyed traditional fabric. What made this material extraordinary wasn't that it was perfect. It wasn't meant to replace every use of canvas. Instead, it solved multiple critical problems using resources armies normally threw away. It was cheap, renewable, repairable, resistant to water, and surprisingly strong for something made from shredded paper. It was sustainability born out of necessity decades before sustainability became a global concern. Today, the story of this paper fiber cloth stands as much more than a historical footnote. It's a lesson proof that durable, practical technology can be created from the simplest materials when creativity and pressure collide. In an age dominated by plastics and synthetic coatings, this forgotten composite reminds us that natural, low-cost alternatives can still hold their own. For reenactors, bushcrafters, survivalists, or anyone exploring historical methods, the process remains as relevant now as it was 8 decades ago. Strength doesn't always come from advanced materials. Sometimes it comes from understanding how to bind ordinary things together into something greater than the sum of its parts. If you want more deep dives into forgotten technologies, survival methods, and the ingenuity that defined history's toughest generation, subscribe to In the Beginning and share this story with others who appreciate the brilliance hidden in the world's most overlooked inventions.